This, so this video right here is inspired so you can stop putting out fires. When I say putting out fires, I'm meaning like the feeling of you can't advance because as soon as you get something, you got to do this, you got to do that. So this will bring you relief and clarity. After you get the relief and clarity, you would be able to correct that. Now you have correction. After correction comes alignment through subconscious mastery. And then after the alignment comes, then you're unified internally. And I'm gonna explain it how you could become unified in the outside world. And after that, you'll be able to have like what I like to call an ether of wealth. It's an invisible field where money flows. And it never leaves like your little ecosystem. So, what we're going to talk about is how important it's to be able to identify your blind spots. And blind spots could come from money, having blind spots around money, your worth, and time. So, let's get right to it. I just want to get right to it today. So, relief and clarity. Why identifying your blind spots brings you relief and clarity. Now, you want to see how blind spots form? I'll tell you this first. A blind spot, it's like walls around your kingdom where you can't see. It's hidden behind things where you can't see. So whether you're an entrepreneur and you want to go from 5K a month to 10K a month, or you're streetwise and you feel like you need the systems or the book sense to go to create your new horizon, right? Or whether you've been in a relationship for 10 years plus, y'all both making $60,000 a year together combined, or one is entrepreneurial, one is not, how to bring that vision together where it's not a power struggle. You get it? So then that eventually turns into an ecosystem. So let's get right to it. Relief and clarity around blind spots. So this is how a blind spot gets formed. Let me tell you a quick story. Now, I just bought a truck, right? I just bought a truck. So I let my daughter drive it. And as I'm sitting in the passenger side, as she's driving it to school, because I'm like, man, just hop in and drive to school. So we drove, she hops in, and she's like, and I'm like, yo, how do you feel? Does it feel different from a car, an Audi? Does it feel different? She's like, nah, really, it's just that I sit higher and I got blind spots. This means like an environment where you can't see everything or you can't measure the vehicle, not just a car, the vehicle that you're in. This is like a system, whatever. You can't see because you haven't measured it yet. So this is how measurement is also equally important to a blind spot. So let's get right to it. I don't want to lose no time today. Let's not lose, and I got brand new markers. open. Shit. Brand new. So we talking about putting out fires and why once you identify these blind spots, it'll bring you relief and clarity. This is guaranteed. Let's go with the other color I chose, black, right? So this is you. And before I start, blind spots affect your decision making. So whenever you make a decision, there's a verdict that happens in the underworld. When I say underworld, I mean your internal world, your inner world. So that's you. Let's say you made a decision. Hopefully I'm spelling right. After you make a decision, this is action. So you're performing the actions of your decision, right? Now you want your outcome to be a certain way, right? Let's say result, right? Result. Let's say 10K. That's what you want, outcome or outcome. You have made a decision, you perform the action, and you want this outcome. And this is why people give you systems, techniques, and tell you to do certain things, and you can't advance or it doesn't work. And you get exhausted because you're running this continuous loop of making a decision, action, and then a result, and you hoping for that outcome. Now, the only way you'll get this 10K is when this is called a feedback. That 10K will be a feedback. And it's not the how, what decision you made. It's how you felt about that decision you made or what was going on. There was a verdict that was decided when you made that decision. And it comes from this. I'm gonna make it real simple. This is you. This is your spiritual body. That's your spiritual body. It's the core, the center of your emotions, where your subconscious dwell. Your soul, basically. Your values, subconscious values. So the feedback, you might think that this straight line from right here to right here you performing the action, and then you perform, and then you getting that result. You won't get that result. You'll get this because there's a feedback loop. This is a principle. So a feedback won't go from your action. This is why you can never, it's never about effort. The effort doesn't equal results, or action or the action doesn't equal the outcome you want. It equals how you felt here. The emotions that were going through you, how you agreed to those emotions. It's a feedback. It won't go back to the action. It won't go back to the decision. It goes back to how much confirmation, how much agreement, how much harmony you had before you made that decision, that little gap. And that is the feedback. It won't go back to the action. It won't go back to the decision. It would go back to where it started. It's simple. That's as simple as I can make it. Even a third grader can understand this. It'll go back to its epicenter, where it started. It goes back to the beginning. So you can't bypass this, because there's a verdict that was made about how you felt. So decisions also, this is very important, because if there's volatility in here with your emotions, this is what is called emotional residue. This is what decisions do. This is what outcomes look like. This is the illusion or the reality, not the illusion, the reality that you would face from the emotional residue that happened here, the emotional residue that happened here. You won't get this outcome. So I could go on and break this down, but even further, but this is very important. Emotional residue. And this is why it feels like you can't advance, or you're continuously putting out fires. And if you run a business and your spiritual body, your emotional body is not in harmony, you'll have emotional residue, which leads to high inefficiencies. So we got right to it, right? So this, when you identify this blind spot right here, this is a blind spot. This is what you call blind spots. You have to be able to measure this. With training, you start to measure the way you feel. So another thing I want to break down is like how, but this, before I get there, this is what you call, after you make a decision, you'll have like the greatest discernment. And discernment allows you to make the best decisions. We're going to break this down further. Now, another thing that I want to get into is, let me move this over. This might get is the discipline to be able to identify your blind spots so you can have this relief and clarity around how you impress your business, this field, this universe. Discipline. So some people describe, I think I said this before, some people describe discipline as doing something that you don't want to do. Of course, that will, on a positive note, doing something that you don't want to do is saying that, on a positive note, that you can overcome resistance. But let's transfer this idea to like somebody who's great at sales. I'm pretty sure I could find someone that doesn't believe in objections or resistance from what they're trying to sell, because they state those objections early on. So this is what you call being aware. of any blind spots and overcoming them before they even show up because you're highly aware. Okay, so discipline to go back and identify your blind spots. Some people define discipline as doing something that you don't want to do. How I define discipline is by, some people might go and look at the word in the dictionary and get the meaning. That's how you get confirmation of saying the words that you're saying to make sense. But if you was to break that word down just intuitively, and this is a little trick of how I started to identify blind spots. It's the language within me, my subconscious language, the language outside in this world. So you break the word down intuitively. So discipline is D-I-S-C, and then pline. So it's a disc. A disc has music, has sounds. So you could fill up that disc with your music, your sound, structured from the first song to the 9th song, full album. This is a disc. Remember those CDs back in the day? This is a disc. And it's cyclical. It's like, these are how you identify loops. This is intuitively. It's a disc. And it's playing. So, when you identify blind spots, you could stop the patterns, the hidden patterns within you, the subconscious patterns, your daily habits. You become aware of them, and then you can measure them, and you can recalibrate them. You can change them. But back to discipline. This is a disc, right? So just move the word pline aside. It's a full album. It's cyclical. It can keep playing. It's up to you to change the sounds, change the music. It's completely up to you. Then you got the word pline. Now let's take the word pline. You got discipline, disc, right? I, and then pline. So it's implying that it's talking about me. I. So you got a disc. This is my disc. And then pline. Pline, you could look it up. It's the copyrights to your music. So you own this. So how I define discipline is filling up my day with what has to be done. And that's it. I don't go by doing something that I don't want to do. You know why? Because I don't define discipline like that. It doesn't work for me. Hopefully, this is making sense, because if you do something that you don't want to do, it starts off with your emotional body. So, like I said, there's residue. These dots right here are emotional residue that will go here into your decision. It will go here in that gap. It will go here in your actions. And then you think that will give you that result. It's completely up to you. So, it starts here. It's just me agreeing. This is a vow to myself. I spoke about this before. This is a chasm, a vow to myself, which embodies my identity throughout this whole process. So, That's how you get relief and clarity from identifying your blind spots. That was cool. And that's, let me bring that again. Let me do this again. It never starts here, like, and this is why, I don't know, they call it woohoo spiritual stuff. It's funny that many influencers or gurus, whatever you want to call them, tell you, oh, try this strategy for your business. Try this technique. This will work. This will get you 10K. And they tell you, oh, yeah, run ads or yeah, this is how you get leads. And you buy into that system. And they call this, what I'm talking about, woohoo spiritual stuff with no structure. It's funny because that strategy, it's at the top of the cup. It's the fluff, like your coffee cup. It's the fluff. It's the action. Look, it's the action. You're buying all these courses and you're doing all this to do the action. What behavior made you make that decision? There's an emotion that comes before the decision. This is your emotional body. So this has to be aligned, in alignment, in congruence, in harmony. So you can make that decision, perform the action that'll get you that, because there won't be no emotional residue. And that'll be your feedback. The emotional residue will be your feedback. And it'll always come back to that. And like I said, you have to have the discipline for this, to know this and to be aware of this. And that is what gives you relief and clarity. So you can stop these high inefficiencies or things that don't work, or you can't advance. You get the money and it leaves, you don't know how, because there's a loop that you haven't measured yet. And if you measure something, you can become the ruler of it. It's how you become sovereign, a sovereign builder. So those were blind spots that we was talking about. Now, should I erase this? Yeah, we could erase this, right? So, this is like my third live, right? Man, this is crazy right here. It's all right. It's all right. Don't worry. I'll get a better board. It'll probably be more digital. With the thanks of y'all, supporting y'all and myself. So, then you got, what would you have now? How to correct this. That was blind spots. This is correction. Correction. How do you correct those? This is not how you correct those. I already showed you. This is what happens when you correct this. When you correct this, you don't feel powerless. And you don't feel unstable. When you correct, when the correction arises from identifying your blind spots, you feel powerless because you don't understand the blind spots. Also, what creates powerlessness is the decisions that you make, the discernment. So you're emotionally volatile. So when you correct this, you're powerful. And one of the biggest things right here with the prior thing that I had on the board was that you won't leak energy. Energy leaks would stop. Now you have high spiritual currency. And that's the first things before. It's like the inner economy to your outer economy. Now, from inner economy to counting cash, it's in your hands, it's materialized because you won't leak energy. You know the saying, money is energy. It's not really here. It shows you it's not backed by nothing. Every time you feel good or you don't give a certain thing attention and you know how to decide, you got proper discernment, money just flows to you. Opportunities will come. So unstable to stability, because there's no emotional residue behind, only positive emotional residue. Nothing that could be hidden or could leak your energy. So that's what happens when correction comes into play. You don't feel powerless. Now you have high energy. Money only flows to highly energetic people. And you'll be stable. You won't be emotionally volatile in the frequencies. And you could decide quickly. And like I showed you in my prior video, you decide quickly, which leads to a higher frequency. So, what happens next? Put my board down. Is like alignment. Now, after the correction comes, because you have internal coherence. It's aligned execution now. This is in harmony with your subconscious values. Your beliefs now are in order because you don't have blind spots. And if they come, you identify them, you corrected them through what I just showed you. And now you're in alignment. Now, whatever desired horizon or outcome you want, it's on the horizon now. Now you're aligned. So, what happens when you are in alignment? Let's go. It's like you got to bring it down to the first one. When you in alignment, you have clarity. You have clarity. What else is involved with alignment? Messaging. Meaning your messaging gets clear. You know exactly what you're talking about, why, what, who, whatever. Your messaging gets clearer when you're in alignment. You're emotionally stable. And you able to embrace opportunities now or allow opportunities. Allowance of opportunities. Why? I forgot to spell it, opportunities. Allowance of opportunities is like what you're able to hold. Like I said, these things is highly energetic, so they come with emotions. So you got to be stable. And it's how you allow these things. It could be as simple as you feel like it's more, you got to be more responsible when an opportunity comes. Or you might see a obstacle instead of an opportunity. You're in alignment now. So that's what happens. Now, what else we got? Like I said, if you're a couple that's been together 10 years plus, or you're married, or you just got engaged. See, I want to, let me say something else about that. See, some people want relationships. Let's say a relationship, they want to build relationship mentors or relationships that last, friendships, strategic partnerships. And this is if you're married or you're engaged or you've been in a couple. I'm talking to those directly. Because if you're single, it's a different story. We can talk about that in another video. But if you have a partner, if you don't master that partnership, how the hell are you gonna be in affiliation or know how to be around a mentor or want a lasting relationship like with substance? If you don't master that relationship first, then you won't be able to partner with somebody. See, these are the prerequisites, things that come before the things that you want. So, like for instance, having tough conversations with your partner is very important, because this is about when you form a good relationship, a partnership that lasts. Of course, there has to be trust in there, right? So this is about safety. It's how safety and expansion. Like having a unified vision. You don't want a power struggle between you and your partner. So there's things that have to be discussed. There's fears that have to be overcome. I'll give you an example of mastering partnership or like being in a relationship. Let's say you want to talk about finances and the other partner said, you can feel that it triggers trauma. And that partner says, oh, I don't want to talk about this right now. That is a blind spot in your relationship. And that has to be identified in order for you guys to expand and grow together. So, or you want to create a business that lasts, you got to be around people, you got to communicate, you got to master your relationship first. Master your beliefs, identify your beliefs, or take self-inventory of your beliefs around your money, around the money that you guys get. How you see money in your partner, you can ask how you see money. What is your beliefs around money? Your worth. Are you afraid of being seen? Do you understand how valuable you are? Like around time, are you always panicking that you got to get things done? Is there a sense of like time is always running out. How do you perceive time? These are like blind spots. But we could go back to trust. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Trust, right? Because trust is a big one. You don't want to be always jumping around and scattered. This could be like, vice versa. Like, linking your energy with different women over there, different women over here, paying attention to social media, different women over here. But one of the biggest ones is trust. Because we can get back to that power couple thing. But in the power couple thing, trust is very important, right? So, like I said before, I like going to the root cause, obviously, right? So, trust. The way I see trust is trust erodes over time. There's entropy in here, meaning you have to continuously prove trust by communication, by action, by maintenance. You want to know why? This is, again, if you could learn how to, this is a simple trick of identifying blind spots. This is how you could start, even if you're a kid right now in college, or you're a kid in high school, you're in third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Blind spots, the invisible things capping you, or the invisible world, the spiritual world. So when people say spiritual, this is what they mean. It's just invisible, things that you can't see that's affecting your reality. So, this is another trick, just like how I use the word discipline. And this is why I say it requires action, maintenance, continuous attention. Because there's a word in here. This is why trust erodes over time if you don't care about it, because it creates rust. So if you don't oil it, like clean it, remove this rust would expand. This is like entropy. Anything left to itself would just deteriorate and decline. So you just can't get a loan, like for simple example, get a loan from a bank and not pay it. Because when it erodes and it creates rust, it's like debt, right? All you gotta do is spin that around. Debt is like bed with a T. But let's not get too crazy, right? Bed with a T. That is debt if you just flip the letters around. But trust erodes. So you have to continuously perform maintenance. Oil it. It's like anointing. It's like, you know what to do next. And this is about decisions, what I spoke about before. You have clarity, now you have proper discernment, and that verdict that was made within the inner world or the underworld, it's not capping you. You'll get your desires. But in a power couple scenario, rust, because it erodes. And this T right here is a crossroads. It's a T, right? It's a crossroads. All you have to do is get aligned with the center of your emotions. It's always the center. Now, if you're thinking about this is what creates erosion or eroding, there's that. the crossroads, right? You're undecisive. You don't know if you want to go here. You don't know if you want to go there. You don't know if you want to go there. You don't know if you want to go there. This is emotional volatility, doubt creeping in. And it's okay. And doubt is okay once it's recognized. But you have to overcome that with certainty. And that's what, when you identify these things and you could identify your assignment for the day, there is no leakage. You won't feel powerless. Now, back to decisions, right? Back to decisions, right? Let's talk about, you ever heard people say why rich people only wear like a one, they only got like a shirt and some pants. That's the only thing they wear. It's because decisions take to make it, in order to make a decision, it requires an emotion. Let's just make it simple. It requires emotion, a feeling. So the less deciding you got to do, the less energy leaks happen. So it's good to make your decisions early so you don't have to overthink about what you're going to do next. That's why it's very important. And that's another trick about how you can become successful. It's how you see time, how you perceive time. So after the partnership, after you identify your assignment, your message gets clear for the day, or your spiritual assignment, you could have a unified vision. You're unified internally. You're not misaligned. You're not misaligned. And now you could have your what? Your what? Your what? Your ether of wealth. Where your money flows and never leaves your ecosystem. It's funny that I just was talking about trust, because people will tell you, I don't know, people on social media be like, yeah, it's how you get a trust. You should get a trust, put your money in a trust, you know, and finna banking and these things. But if you don't go to the root of what is trust, how would you have a trust? How would you put your money into a trust? Like, yeah, sign me up. If you don't have trust within yourself, or you don't know that trust erodes if you don't take care of it. This could be like simple as, yeah, you walking across a bridge and walk across it every day. But there was a lifespan, or not a lifespan, there was a time span of like 3 years where you didn't walk this bridge, and when you go back, for some reason, the wood, the planks on it look kind of like cruddy, like pieces flowing off. Like, would you trust it? So it's the same concept. You can have no trust within yourself and have a partnership like what I discussed before. And every time you try to partner, it scams you, it cheats you. It could be that person cheats on you because of the trust The emotional volatility about how you feel about trust is the feedback is going to give you what you subconsciously feel. So after you go through that, the identifying your blind spots, then correction of your frequency. Then you go to like esoteric principles and use principles and your perception, your perspective, your values of how you see the world. If they get in line, your beliefs, then you'll have certainty. After certainty, you could have a unified vision within yourself to allow yourself to even be engaged or be in a long-term relationship that eventually leads to marriage. And then after combining all that together, y'all both can get an ether of wealth where money flows and never leaves your ecosystem. This is where you do, like, you can put money into a trust. You can now. You can trust. Some people feel skeptical about this, but y'all could both have a joint business account. Because you understand what is required of business. When you go through these levels of blind spots, correction, alignment, partnerships, and then what? What is this? You consider ether wealth like a legacy. So, I know I'm gonna make a video on this. I just wanted to go live today. I just felt good. So, remember, relief and clarity around blind spots, correction of your frequency through your subconscious, or having like some principles of knowing how this world works, esoteric principles would lead to no emotional volatility. Then go into a unified version of you, a unified vision, safety, expansion. You could bring two people together, many more. Your messaging gets clear after you identify your assignment. I spoke about that with discipline. Then you get your ether of wealth. Money will continuously flow to you. That's a guarantee. So, you already know, man. Remember, your spiritual, emotional body is first. Like, fuck all that. My gun strap. Be aware of what you leave for your feedback. Man, that wrong. But y'all already know, let's keep it infinite. See y'all on the next one.